You are listening to The Thought Leaders Show with the world's cutting-edge, hottest innovators, influencers, and impact makers today. If you are looking for inspiration and motivation, listen in. Welcome to The Thought Leaders Show. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, international best-selling author Allan Rankin. He wrote The 10 Dumbest Mistakes Smart People Make When Selling Their Home. He is an expert real estate advisor to NBC, Fox, ABC, and CBS. He has been formally recognized at Harvard University as a business and real estate authority. He is a licensed real estate professional, and he's been working for more than 12 years. And since 1982, he and his mother have sold more than 3,000 homes. Welcome, Allan.
Thanks for having me, Tammy.
So, first of all, you are in Canada. So tell me a little bit more about who you help and the area of your expertise.
Okay, so I specialize in Durham region, which is the eastern part of the Greater Toronto area. And more specifically, if you're from where I'm from, it's Whitby, Brooklyn, Oshawa, Pickering, Ajax, Curtis, Bowmanville, and Newcastle. So we service primarily all of the Durham region, but mostly all of our business is done within, I would say, Whitby area.
So who do you like to work with the most? I know that, there's a lot of people, who maybe they're the first home buyers, or who seems to be the people you attract the most?
Earlier on in my career, because I started very young when I was 22. And so the vast majority of my business back then was first-time buyers, just being younger and having friends buying their first houses. As the years went on and the market really picked up, it was extremely competitive for first-time buyers to even get into the market. And then slowly we transitioned more into people who currently own maybe a smaller home and are looking to move up into a bigger home. But we service, if we help anyone who's looking to accomplish anything as it relates to residential real estate. So if a first-time buyer wants to buy a home, we're going to help them find that dream first home. If someone's living in a big house and their kids have moved on and they're empty nesters, then we're going to help them downsize, whether it be a condo or a little townhouse. If someone's been living in a smaller house and they want to upsize into a bigger home with a growing family, we're happy to help them do that. And we will exhaust a tremendous amount of effort ensuring that whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish, that we help them do that. So.
Oh, that's really cool. I've heard a term called the real estate catch-22. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so the real estate catch-22 has to do with when someone currently owns a home, let's say a townhouse, and then they're looking to move up into a bigger home. The big question they have to ask themselves is, what am I going to do? Am I going to sell first and then buy? Or am I going to buy first and then sell? And both options have their ups and downs. And it's important to decide which approach you're going to take, which makes most sense based on your unique circumstance, in order to move with very little risk and the transition be very smooth for you. So we help people solve the issue of which option to choose based on their unique circumstance.
Well, everybody would be absolutely unique, and I'm glad to hear that, because I think that, it's just like the chicken and the egg. Which comes first? Should you buy or should you sell first? And what are the consequences of doing one or the other? So when you're working with people, and do you work both with buyers and sellers, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you're working with a seller and your area, would you say that it's a hot real estate market, a seller's market, a buyer's market, or does it fluctuate?
It's always been a very healthy, balanced market. Since I started in real estate about 12 or 13 years ago. It's never been a buyer's market. But up until about 6 years ago, and especially the last 2 years, the market has been just a red hot seller's market. So much, in fact, that the Toronto real estate market broke a record for prices increasing more anywhere else in the world. And we've had a temporary slowdown because of government and media intervention with new rules and things. It did slow down, but it is picking back up again because I'm seeing the bidding wars and experiencing the bidding wars again. So it's definitely a hot market here.
So when you work with these sellers, I know, for example, that there's curb appeal, and if you're in a competitive seller's market, what would you say might be a couple tips that you might give people to make their property stand out, a little bit more than the next seller down the street who maybe has a house just as nice?
Well, that's actually a really good question to ask, because as the market got hotter and hotter, a lot of people felt that I don't really need to do anything to prepare my home for sale because they know it's going to sell. And so the hotter the market gets, the more people don't see the value in preparing their home for sale. I personally believe that a home should be prepared into a total showpiece, no matter how good or bad the market is, because under all circumstances, it will dramatically affect the buyer's impression when they come into the property and grab them emotionally to the point where it'll make them want the home faster and they're willing to pay more money for it. And what we do is we specialize in transforming your home into a total showpiece, so that not only into a showpiece, but also for the least amount of money. So we're looking for that perfect balance of getting your home prepared into a total showpiece for the least amount of money, so that you're getting the most amount of money for it on the sale with the least amount of investment upfront getting it ready for sale.
I think that's really important, because think about it. If with just some tweaking, what if you made your home so appealing that the buyers would say, well, I'm willing to pay this much more for it. So you actually bring a great value and service to these people. So when you do this, what are some of the benefits and values of preparing your home beyond what you just already told us?
Well, it can literally mean the difference of tens of thousands of dollars on the sold price. So, where you don't prepare your home for sale, you might only get one offer. If you do prepare it for sale, you might get 3 offers, 5 offers. We've had circumstances with 15 and 20 offers and houses selling for 150, 200,000 over asking price. And so it literally means the difference of how long your home will take to sell and what the sold price will ultimately be. So it's to me, it's a very important factor in the selling process, and we call it pay for pretty. People pay for pretty, especially the women, and so we make sure these homes are pretty when they go for sale. So.
Pay for pretty. I like that. And also, I think, and full disclosure, I actually have a real estate license. I live in Florida. Everybody has a real estate license. In your area, you've been doing this for 12 years, and obviously come from a real estate background, a family real estate background. What is the difference between you and all the other people, because I know what happens in Florida when the market heats up. All of a sudden, we're flooded with all these new real estate licensees who
Yeah.
want to make money in the real estate market. And then, of course, you've got a handful of tried and true people who've been in the business and who are, that's their profession. So what would you say makes you so different than everybody else in the Toronto real estate market?
So for me, like I was literally born and raised in the business. So when I was young, my mother got a real estate license after my dad left. And so I was, she was a full-time real estate agent my whole life with a real estate office in the basement of our home. And so I was always working in the office, even before I had my driver's license, let alone my real estate license. I had actually already sat through more real estate negotiations than most 10-year full-time real estate professionals. And, for me, like I've been doing it for so long that I know that we're just really good at what we do. We have a tremendous amount of experience.
That's so interesting that so I can imagine this, your mom. So your mom ended up being a single mom supporting you. And so of course she took you along to the real estate negotiations. And so you were there as a young boy, just kind of absorbing the negotiations and listening to how the questions were asked and answered and the concerns of the people and watching your mom navigate this. That is really a cool story. And the cool thing about that is that it's like a lot of what you know about real estate. It was like, developed, like you said, over this period of time, and you grew up into the real estate business. That's really, really interesting.
Exactly. And the other thing too is like when you compare that to, you were talking about every time the market picks up in Florida, now all of a sudden there's all these new agents in the business, right?
Right.
And here it's a perfect example of that. I mean, when I started in real estate, there was 20,000 real estate agents approximately. And now there's over 47,000 agents, there's just never been so many real estate agents ever in this industry. And because of that, coincidentally, you'll also see that the legal complaints and lawsuits related to real estate transactions and real estate agents through the Real Estate Council of Ontario have actually surged by 107.9% during the same time period. And what's happening is because there's so many new agents, well, there's a couple things happening. First of all, the market's so hot. The hotter the market gets, the less people tend to really think that they need to hire a real, genuine professional, that, the house will sell itself, that there won't be any difference in who they pick, which could be further from the truth. But also because there's so many new agents, that a lot of them they sell maybe 1, 2, 3 houses a year. They have very little experience. The number of registered part-time agents in the business has surged, which means people who are actually working full-time at a completely different profession, whether they be, I don't know, it could be anything, a teacher, a police officer, but they have their real estate license on the side and they'll sell like 2 or 3 houses a year. And because of that, there's a lot of inexperience and negligence. And so these lawsuits and everything have absolutely surged like never before as well. And so I don't believe that's to be a coincidence, that there's been a record number of brand new agents in the business and also a record number of lawsuits and complaints registered against real estate agents and as they relate to real estate transactions in general.
Wow, that is a lot. And that's a lot of agents to come on board. And you're absolutely right. Real estate is, and I'm speaking from personal experience, there is so much you have to learn, so much you have to understand. And it's such a huge responsibility. You're talking about helping somebody find their home and invest in where they're going to live. And then for many people, that is going to be part of the biggest investment they ever make. And their hope, of course, is that they're buying smart so that if they ever do sell it, they'll actually end up making money so that they can use that money either for another house or for something else. So
exactly. And like, when people go to sell their home, typically all they're thinking about is, will it sell and how much will it sell for? Those are the only two things really. But there's just so much more involved in a real estate sale that you don't know until you're really immersed in the transaction occurring. So people don't know what they don't know kind of thing until they're actually experiencing it firsthand. But with us, like, I've been doing this so long. I mean, I've never, ever even once had a legal complaint or any complaint registered against me from a client. I've never been involved in any lawsuit related to any of my transactions. I've had a 100% closing rate for every single home I've ever sold. There's never been a time I sold a home where it didn't close. I mean, I hear stories all the time about homes that don't close. There's never been a time I've had a client without a roof over their head, because we're handling the transaction and proceeding in a way that's smart. And, we've also been recognized at Harvard as offering unique and exceptional value. And I think that really demonstrates, the tremendous amount of value that we have to offer our clients and the quality of work that we do for them.
I think that you're really right about that. And the fact that you customize everything to each individual client, I think is also huge, because like you said earlier, everyone is different. What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about working with a real estate professional?
The number one biggest misconception is that people tend to think that no matter who they hire, that, the house is going to sell for the same price. It's going to take the same amount of time to sell. The whole experience from start to finish will be identical regardless of who they pick, which could be further from the truth. You can have dramatic differences in sold prices. You can have dramatic differences in the length of time you're on the market, and you can have dramatic differences in the level of stress that you have while moving. And I mean, you name it, there can be dramatic differences. It all boils down to really the professional that's helping you.
I think that that's true, because a lot of people, we all know the scenario where, my cousin, my ex-husband, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, they're in the real estate business, so I'm going to work with them. And then, of course, you find out that whoever that relative is may or may not have exactly what you said, the experience to get you the best price or to sell it quickly. And that stress factor is really important. And the longer that property's on the market, the more it's actually costing you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question about your book, The 10 Dumbest Mistakes Smart People Make When Selling Their Home. And I just want you to give me, what is the number one dumbest mistake people make? And you may have already answered that question, but I'm just really curious.
There's so many good ones. Which one am I going to pick here? For me, I'm going to say two, because there's just so many of them, and there's a couple that are really important. So first of all, always make sure that you are with a real, genuine professional in the real estate industry, no matter where you are. Someone with a proven track record of selling homes faster and for more money, who has a tremendous amount of experience locally in the area that you do live in. Every industry in the world, no matter what it is, has a small percentage of professionals that offer a tremendous amount of greater value than the vast majority of other people working in that industry. The other biggest mistake is that if you're not preparing early, you're already late. So if you're thinking of selling in the spring, you need to start meeting with agents, deciding which one you're going to pick, figuring out what your list price is going to be, figuring out all the things you need to do to prepare your home for sale. You need to start doing all that stuff in like January so that you have the time to do all those things and you have all the information well in advance to base your decision on and proceed accordingly. So that would be one big mistake I see made all the time. People thinking of selling in the spring are waiting until the spring to get their home ready, not realizing that, painters and carpet installers and all of these companies that need to do the work on your home are already all booked up. And so you need to prepare early or you're already late.
That's really good advice because it does take time. I mean, like what you just said, to get somebody painting or installing something or anything, and you call them and they'll say, oh, well, just like a roof. I called the roofers and they said, oh, well, we can get you in 4 or 5 months from now. And it's like, exactly. Oh, because we just automatically think, because we live in this internet world where everything seems to be instant, that the real world operates in the same speed. And of course it doesn't. So I really like that. So if somebody wants to get in contact with you, Allan, how can they do that?
There's a few different ways. I'm going to give you my email and my website because depending on, I was with Remax for 12 years and then I've switched to another company now. And now I'm in the process of going back to a different Remax. And so the phone number may change from time to time depending on whether I'm staying with the brokerage I'm working at or not. But my email will always be the same. It's Allan, ALLAN, at allanrankin.ca. And my website is allanrankin.ca.
allanrankin.ca. Great. So that's really a good point, is to always have one place that will always stay the same. That's actually really good advice for everyone who is in business in the first place. And I wanted to ask you before I let you go, you do a lot of real estate advice on television programs on ABC, NBC, ABC, Fox. What typically are most of these television programs interested in having you advise on?
So we talk about, it's mostly mistakes, right? So, whenever someone makes a mistake, it's very costly, right? Whether it's financially or another costly reason that has nothing to do with money. But, whenever a mistake is made, then there's a consequence to that. And so, we give people as much helpful information well in advance of them actually moving to make sure that they don't make any mistakes, which, that's what I find people appreciate the most, is making sure that when it is time to sell, that they don't make any mistakes and that it is a smooth and favorable outcome.
That's good advice. So, Allan, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you as well.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to the Thought Leaders Show. To get all past shows and to get all future shows, go to thoughtleadersshow.com.